So hello everyone, very good afternoon. This is Vikas Srivastav, founder and CDO of AlmaBetter. So I welcome you all today to this Ask Me Anything session. So as you are already aware, this is part of the LER program that we offer to the students of our batches. Okay, so every Saturday we organize a guest lecture or an AMA session where we invite a guest speaker to talk about how data science is being used in the industry, right? So these sessions are very insightful for students who want to build a career in the field of data science. This session will be followed by the regular interview point of view and case study session. So let's begin the Ask Me Anything session by introducing our guest for today. So please welcome Ayush Garg, who is a senior data scientist at Grab, Singapore. So he is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and has previously worked at companies such as Rivigo and American Express. So I'll give you a basic idea about what Grab is doing. So Grab is a Singaporean multinational ride-hailing company which is headquartered in Singapore. So in addition to transportation, the company offers food delivery and digital payment services. So it now operates in majority of the Southeast Asian countries, and it is the first decacorn, as in the startup is valued at over 10 billion US dollars. So hi Ayush, welcome to this session. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, hey,
So
happy to be here.
yeah, that's great. So please tell us about Grab and the problems you are solving there.
Yeah, sure. So, like you mentioned, right? Grab it's a unicorn decacorn in Southeast Asia. The type of problems that Grab is trying to solve ranges across a wide variety of spectrum. So, we are traditionally a ride-hailing company, right? And then since then, Grab has branched out into other businesses, including food delivery, including financial services, investments, and stuff. So, we are trying to solve problems at scale, meaning problems which affect day-to-day lives of all the people in Southeast Asia. So yeah, we are trying to solve all of these problems.
Okay, that's great to know. So now moving on to the next question. So how is Grab using machine learning or data science to be more efficient in their business? So
Right, sure. So Grab, as you can imagine, right, as I mentioned, it has various problems that it is trying to solve. So we have different data science teams at Grab, which work on various different aspects of the business. So I'll give you some examples. For example, we have a geo data science team, which solves a lot of problems around taking the map data, right? So you are predicting estimated time of arrival for a driver or your food, or you're trying to optimize the route in the best way from a given point to another point. Then we have a marketplace data science team, which tries to predict the demand and tries to predict the supply and how best to match the supply and demand given any point in time. Right? So we do all of this using a lot of machine learning. Then you have food data science teams, which have their own recommender systems, which try and customize the app experience individually for each of these users. That is one area. Then we have a large trust, identity, and safety team here at Grab, of which I'm a part. And we solve problems like stolen cards or unfunded bookings, or we do a lot of image recognition for passenger IDs, driver IDs, and try and keep Grab free of fraud using machine learning algorithms. And if we talk about machine learning, the kind of machine learning that we do, it involves a lot of traditional machine learning algorithms as well as state of the art machine learning research
right.
that's going on. So we implement logistic regression, we implement boosted trees, we implement random forests, as well as we implement deep learning and graph algorithms to solve different problems today.
Well, that's pretty, yeah, great to know. So because Grab is a decacorn and it has such a large customer base, and you're kind of solving a lot of problems at once. At once, it's a ride-hailing app. Then other, it's providing digital payment services. Then also it's all in the food delivery business. So yes, there are a lot of different problems which are now being tackled with the help of data science. Yeah, that's pretty great to know. So yeah, moving on to the next question. So it's a very interesting question. So what is your favorite thing about your job? So
Right. So the favorite thing about the job, I would say, is solving large problems at scale, because it's really a satisfying thing when you can pick up a state of the art machine learning algorithm, or even a traditional machine learning algorithm like logistic regression or simple boosted trees, right? And you apply them to a business problem, and then you can see the outcomes and the impact that you're about to you can make using these algorithms, right? So it's a really satisfying thing, and you can have a large scale impact on the business using these machine learning algorithms. So that
Right.
is one of the most favorite parts of about the job. Other than this, yes, being a data scientist, you're constantly learning, right? Because the data science research is advancing at a very fast pace. So you're
Exactly.
constantly learning. You're working with very smart colleagues who are PhDs in very difficult subjects. So you're constantly learning alongside them. You're learning with them. So that's a really fulfilling part of being a data scientist.
Yeah, that's a pretty smart answer. Yeah, in fact, having to work with a lot of very talented people, which are part of your team, that kinds of adds a lot of interesting aspects to the day-to-day regular job, right?
Right. Right.
Right. So yeah, just moving ahead. So in terms of starting new projects from scratch, do you have any specific method or set of steps you go through mentally in order to get from formulation of your problem, then requirements gathering, defining your method, and then to finally presentation and delivery? So what's your sort of method or approach for starting any new project?
Right. Sure. So I have a very tailor-made approach that I take for all of the problems that I am trying to solve. So it's almost all the projects I try and take them along a similar framework.
Right.
So I start out with understanding the problem in detail. So the problem is usually a business problem. So you go up to the business teams and you try to understand what problems they have and how they are solving them currently. They might have some problems of which they have very basic solutions to today, right? They might have some simple analytical rules in place that they're using to solve their problems, or they might not have a solution at all to that problem right now. Then you try and figure out if that is something you can solve using data science in a better way than it is being done today right now. So understand the problem first. Second is you formulate it into a machine learning problem, right? You start out with designing your objective function. What will be my objective function? Then you move on to how can I measure the performance of the model? What will be the metrics? Then you figure out how will I implement this in production? Do I have sufficient data in production? Do I have sufficient engineering resources in production? Will it
Right.
be easy enough to have this in production in real time? So you figure all of this stuff out. After all of you've done all of this due diligence, then you start with data gathering. So you talk to more people. So for example, I talk to operations teams, or I talk to data analytics teams, or I talk to business teams, all of these teams at the same time, and try and figure out what data does Grab collect with regards to this particular problem. So you get access to all of those data sources, you try and wrangle the data, you start out with some basic heuristical rules, and
Right.
then you train a simple basic model first, right? And then you try and benchmark that model against better models. So for example, you might start out with a simple logistic regression model, then you might move on to boosted trees, and then you might want to try some advanced deep learning models as well. So you
Right.
keep on trying to push the benchmark, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
yeah, and then after that, you do various validations. So you do A/B tests if there are needs. You benchmark them against existing solutions if there are any rules. So you
Right.
do all of those benchmarks, and then I productionalize the model. So it depends how you're productionizing the model, right? It might be a real-time running model where you require the model's response in real time. So it might be a real-time model, or it might be a batch model. So you productionalize the model accordingly. You schedule various jobs on Airflow or cron jobs and stuff.
Right.
And then there is, yeah, definitely continuous tracking of the model and improving. So that is how an end-to-end model development process looks like at Grab, and it's the approach that I typically follow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great approach. And in fact, it's, I think, a very generic approach to solving any data science problem. You understand the limitations of your resources and what the problem demands. And then once you have formulated your problem, see what resources you have, and then you go about gathering your data. So it could be, means you have to contact to other team. And of course, yeah, then you finally dive into the machine learning part where you build your model, right? And
Right.
then finally, yeah, do validation, and then yeah, push that to production, right?
Yes.
So
This is
yeah.
how a typical ML process looks like in any company, I would say.
Yeah, and most of the times, even for very complex problems, simple heuristics can serve as a very good alternative to your ML algorithms, and which are kind of pretty very easy to kind of push to productions, right?
Actually, that's a very good point. So you don't always start off with deep learning, right? You try and pick up some heuristical rules first and see how they're performing. So it's not a bad thing for a data scientist to do, I would say. It's actually
Right.
very good for a data scientist to pick up simple heuristical rules to start with. You
Exactly.
take a simple heuristical rule, see how they're doing, right, and then you try and push that benchmark with more advanced machine learning and stuff.
And in fact, because you have been doing a lot of fraud risk modeling as well, so I think most of the companies, they have a sort of in a hierarchy, they use some set of rules and then also use ML models in conjunction, not as a separately model in place. So there are sort of sequences of or the hierarchies in
Yeah.
which, yeah, rules, some rules are triggered and then your model is also triggered, and based on the combination of those you come to a final decision what do you want to
Right, because
implement,
because rules are primarily easier to track and understand, right? So you have simple rules. Business understands rules better. You can explain the rules better. You can track the rules in a more easy way. They are more explainable. So you want to start out with a very basic approach, and then you move on when the business is aligned with your approach. Then you move on when they have confidence enough in you. Then you move on to better approaches.
right, right. So yeah, just moving on to the next question.
Yeah.
So what recommendations, because you have a lot of experience in the domain of data science and you are a senior data scientist at the company which is valued at over $10 billion. So the thing is, you have a lot of experience with you. So what recommendations on the first steps would you have for someone who's looking to make this their career with little to no prior background? So very few people who sort of want to initiate their career in the field of data science, they're of course very motivated to do that. So what would you suggest them? Okay, what recommendations do you think
So I'm not super senior, but I'm still fairly early into my career. But I would give advice based on how what I've seen so far, based on my experience so far. So for someone who's starting out, I would say a couple of things, right?
right,
First one is start out small. Don't just try and pick up PyTorch or TensorFlow and you're trying to train a deep learning model, right? Don't start there. That is a very bad starting point. If you're starting out, you start out with learning basic SQL, right? That is where I started out, and a lot of us started out. So you learn basic SQL, and then
right,
you get good at data wrangling. Then you start out with basics of machine learning. You understand, okay, how does a classification problem work? How does a regression problem work? What does it mean by a classification problem? You try and understand the difference between supervised learning, unsupervised learning, algorithms traditionally that are used across both of these sets, right? So you start out there. Then you start out with understanding, okay, you pick up some very traditional supervised learning algorithms. You picked up
right,
logistic regression. You try and understand, okay, what does logistic regression do? How does it optimize the cost function? What is happening behind the scenes, right? What that
right,
does is it gives you a very strong intuition. It builds a very strong foundation for your future machine learning career, right? If you have that basic covered, you can pick up advanced algorithms and you'll have at least some basic maths understanding to build up upon that. That is where I think Alma Mater has a good curriculum structure as well. You guys have a really good curriculum structure, so which helps people learn at a decent pace, I would say. Start out small, then move on to, yeah, as you gain more experience, try and solve problems using the machine learning algorithms that you have learned, right? Do a bit of tagging, pick up some side projects, just small things. Don't try and do super complicated stuff early on. Build up your portfolio slowly, right? Slowly and steadily, just develop a good data science portfolio. After that, yeah, you can definitely then move on to better machine learning algorithms and stuff. What
exactly,
is also important, I would say, is hustling. Hustling is very important in life everywhere. You try and move up in your career always. So you try and speak to various people. That is a very important part of building a career, right? So you cannot just sit in your silos and do stuff and hope that companies will come and hire you. You've got to reach out to people. You've got to talk to multiple people in the industry. You've got to talk to friends. You've got to talk to seniors. You've got to talk to colleagues, right? And build up your career using their help. So all of these points.
right. Yeah, I mean that's a very genuine recommendation and very smart advice as well, because yeah, I mean, a lot of people get confused while starting to learn data science because there's so much of material which is available online. So a lot of people, yeah, yeah, it's just full with jargon. So people are just talking about deep learning and very advanced machine learning and stuff, but still a lot of people kind of overlook the importance of very basic concepts such as, let's say, statistical learning, because that is where the whole machine learning is sort of derived from there, right?
Right.
So it's very important to master those concepts, understand the basics of data modeling. So for example, any algorithm which we might want to try out, so would have an associated cost function with that, right?
Yeah.
So we need to understand those concepts, what any algorithm which is trying to do, so we have a basic understanding of the general modeling techniques. And yeah, that's pretty nice to know from you. So hopefully our students will yeah, understand and take that into their perspective. So next question, so can you explain how a day-to-day life of a machine learning engineer or a data scientist at Grab looks like?
Sure.
So right.
So it can involve a lot of different things. For example, my typical day might usually involves a lot of data wrangling. So I might end up writing a lot of Spark jobs in a day, right? I might spend a week writing just the Spark jobs. Then I would focus a lot of time as well on reading various research papers. How can I solve these problems using the latest research, right? Then I might spend another week benchmarking various machine learning algorithms against each other. I might train a simple decision tree model. Then I might try to improve that decision tree model. I might try to tune their hyperparameters. Then I might try to train a different model. So it varies quite a lot, and you end up doing a lot of these things in combination. So typically, a data scientist would end up doing a lot of analytics, a lot of writing code around data wrangling, a lot of training models. So it's a combination of all of these things.
And it's sort of, yeah, experimenting on everyday basis, because you never know what will be the best solution and what thing would you come out as the solution for that formulated problem. So it's sort of experimenting on daily basis, right?
Right. It's a lot of experimentation, definitely.
Right. Yeah, that's nice. And then yeah, so just moving ahead to the, yeah, one to the question. So we at AlmaBetter, we focus heavily on training our students how to collaborate in teams. So we have group capstone projects and we have a lot of group activities. So for a data scientist, how important do you think is the role of team collaboration?
Right. That's a really good thing that you guys do. I think it's super important in industry, not just data science, but overall in industry, that you are super focused on working well in teams. Because what happens is the way world is progressing today, right? You cannot just work by yourself. You've got to talk to various people. You cannot be an expert in all the things, right? So, for example, some of my colleagues, they are better than I am at engineering stuff. So I reach out to them if I need any help with any production systems for a model that I'm deploying. Then
Right.
there are colleagues who have more knowledge about data than I do. I cannot understand all of the data at Grab. So I
Exactly.
need to talk to colleagues about what data is stored where, how do I understand the data better. So these are the situations where your teamwork skills come into play, right? There will be times when you need help of other people, and there'll be times when other people need your help. So if you're a good team worker, that is where the world is progressing. So the focus is today lesser and lesser on individual work, and more on delivering as a team as a whole, right? And the
Right.
problems might be of the nature which require other people's help. So it's definitely a very good thing to learn early on how to work good in teams.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, of course, individual performance matter, but how you place yourself in the team and contribute to the overall development of the team. And where a lot of companies sort of reward their employees in terms of the performance of the team rather than how that individual kind of perform.
Right.
So
So
that's
your
pretty
performance is definitely something that matters, that will be benchmark. But what also matters is how well has your team performed, right? And you need other
exactly
people's help to move ahead in your career.
right. Yeah. So yeah, just a last question. So any last message for the students of our Learn and Return program? Is the second week of their program, and yeah, so they have already spent some time with us, and our students have just started their data science journey. So any last message which you want to share with them, just to help them guide on their path?
Right. As I mentioned, right? So you keep on hustling. Hustling is very important in today's world.
Right.
Reach out to people, talk to people, find better jobs. Always try and improve in your career. Don't try and stagnate at one place. It's relatively early on in your careers. So work hard for next few years. Get a job, start out small. Don't try and don't feel bad if you start out small, right? Everyone starts out small. So start out small, get a job, and then try and improve at that job, get better at that job, keep on learning data science through and through all the time, and then move on to the next better job. Join that job, get better at it, learn more data science, gain more experience, then join the next better job that is available to you. So yeah, just always keep progressing in your career, hustle and learn.
Right. So yeah, that's sort of ends this miss our questions. So we have questions from our students. So
Sure.
there are 23 students in our batch, and these are very motivated individuals and actually pretty smart people as well. So they have few questions which they want to ask you, because you're already working as a data scientist, and in future they want to work as a data scientist. Okay.
Mhm.
So Raj has a question. So there are state of art algorithms coming every day. Why
Mhm.
or how we select which algo is best to use? Is it based upon time and space complexities? So yeah.
Got it. Okay. So yes, that's a good question, Raj. So there are many state of the art algorithms coming today. So the a good point to start is, as Vikas also mentioned, is try and start out with heuristical rules. So you pick up some rules, see how they perform, and then you start out with basic machine learning algorithms. Set a baseline first. Try and always set a baseline, get a benchmark which you want to exceed using these state of the art algorithms. Then you try and understand these state of the art algorithms. What is the basis behind these algorithms? What sort of problems they solve? For example, LSTMs are good at identifying sequence based patterns in time, right? So you pick up LSTMs because you can model your time series data using LSTMs in a very good way. So
Right.
you see if that algorithm fits your particular use case, and then you always try to beat that benchmark. That is always your aim when you're trying to select a state of the art algorithm. Time and space complexity, yes, that is always a constraint, but that varies. So it depends on how you are productionalizing your model, right? So if your model prediction need not be very fast, if your inference time is can be few minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, then you take up a complex algorithm as well. But for example, if it's a production system, you need your real time predictions from your ML algorithm, then you choose an algorithm which is fast as well.
Right. Yeah. That's a very great answer. So Akshay has another question. So so do you consider yourself a specialist or a generalist in data science? And at what point in your learning journey did you take his call? Take this call. Yeah.
Right. Nice question, actually. Okay. So right now, I'm more of a generalist, I would say, not a specialist yet. I'm trying to become a specialist now more and more. Generalist, I start because when I started out, right, I started out with learning basic machine learning, right? So I was trying to grasp how various supervised algorithms work, unsupervised algorithms work. So it was more of a generalist role. So now when I feel that, okay, now I can grasp a machine learning algorithm in detail, I can understand how it works. If I spend enough time on it, I'm getting better and better at it with more practice. Now I'm trying to be more of a specialist now.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, at what point did I take this call? So yeah, I'm taking this call right now because I try to become a generalist first, try to understand the algorithms, and then I'm trying to focus on a particular area, like for example NLP or computer vision. I'm personally more interested in NLP, so I'm trying to take my career in that direction more and more now.
Which is pretty interesting actually. So there are a lot of field, for example, computational linguistics,
Yeah.
which a lot of people are interested, doing very smart work regarding that. And in fact, I demonstrated the GPT-3 demo to these people in their orientation,
Mhm.
which was kind of on based on a very basic prompt. It was sort of generating very interesting smart text.
Right.
So yeah, and also in we also realize that when we are advancing in a particular data science career, we start out as a generalist, then we sort of pick a field which is pretty interesting to us, or feels very appealing, and then we try to go ahead and dive deep into that.
Yeah, I mean, try and explore machine learning as a generalist first, and then try and become a specialist.
Right.
I would not say that there's one specific fixed path to success or growth, but that is something that I have followed so far in my journey. So that has worked out for me so far.
Right. So, Sweetie has also a question. So, which challenges have you faced at entry level as a data scientist?
Hmm.
So,
Okay,
any
nice
specific?
question. Yeah. So, okay, at entry level, there are a few challenges you face, right? First of all, you are not as performant as other senior people in the team. That is one of the biggest challenge. So there might be senior people who understand the business problems better, who understand machine learning algorithms better, who know the API docs for TensorFlow in and out. And when
Right.
you start out as a as a data scientist, you need to learn, you need to be on your toes always to keep on catching up with these people. But it's definitely a part of the learning process, and that is one of the biggest challenges you'll face, just keeping up with the senior people, because data science can be a very steep learning curve.
Yes, because yeah, it's a very constantly evolving field of research, and every day new and new algorithms are coming up. So it's kind of can become very overwhelming to even try to keep up with the pace of the progress.
Right. That is why you should always try and keep your fundamentals strong so that you
Exactly.
can grasp the latest in machine learning on your
Exactly.
own.
Right. And so one more question. So another question from Satya. So how much coding is important in data science career? So
Okay. Coding is definitely very important in data science career today, because today the world is
uh, uh,
machine learning engineer more and more today. So the job of a machine learning engineer would involve writing a lot of data wrangling in Spark, because Spark is the chosen framework of choice today, right? It's very fast. So coding is definitely very important. Then if you're trying to productionalize your models, you definitely have to understand how to write good quality code. And you have to understand various productionizing technologies that are used today, like Dockers. So you've got to develop your coding fundamentals in a good way.
right. And so a lot of people kind of also ask this question because I'm starting from a non-coding background. So
Right.
how difficult is to get into data science? This is a very common question. A lot of people have asked me, and means this question is quite prevalent in the
Hmm.
common scenario. So what's your take on that?
My take on that is that definitely should not be a barrier, right? Anything worth achieving in life will require you to do hard work. If
Right,
you do not have a traditional coding background with you, then you can always develop that. You start out small, right? As I said, you start out with learning SQL. How do you wrangle data in SQL? Then you try and practice more on Kaggle. How do you fit that data into models? So you take your journey step by step, and yes, it will definitely be worth the effort, because data science, it's very prevalent today. So it's definitely worth the effort, and it should not definitely should not be something that stops you from trying your hands at data science.
right. So then there is another question. So when your team face a real-time problem, what is the first approach you take? So
What do you guys mean by real time problem, Chinmay?
So,
Sorry, can you
I think what Chinmaya means is, suppose you have to solve a problem which has to serve the user in real time. So, for example, when they're booking a cab or something like that. So,
right?
if it's a brand new problem which is kind of has to implement it in serving the end user in real time. So, how do you go about doing that?
Right, sure. So okay, I'll give you an example, right? So right now I was solving a problem which prevents the use of stolen cards on Grab platform. And for that, what we did was we tried and predict if the card that a user is using, can it be a stolen card? What is the probability that the card is a stolen credit card?
Right,
So you train a model, and then you productionalize that model based on production systems that you have.
right,
And then your model needs to infer fast enough. So your API response time should be pretty quick. So our API response times are usually within 100 milliseconds. And then you try and intercept those transactions. And then always you need to talk to business. You need to be aligned with how many transactions can you intercept. You cannot intercept too many transactions. You need to have all of those alignments. You need to benchmark your model. You need to get the precision, the recall, stuff like that, so that you can actually track what you're declining. Is it worth declining or not?
right. So there's a very interesting question from Devashish. So do you suggest any way which can make learning simpler? So
Okay.
any
Okay. Learning simpler. Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what has worked for me. So, deep work, right? There is this concept of deep work. You focus when you're trying to learn something new. You set out some time every day, set out 1 hour or 2 hours every day, and then you just focus on learning one particular thing that you're trying to learn, right? And don't give up. Be consistent about it, and then slowly and slowly you will get better at learning.
right, great. This yeah. So we'll just take a few more questions, two or three more questions. So this is a very interesting question from Soumya. So what is the most desirable skill you'd like to see in a candidate for data science in an interview? So what is the most desirable skill?
Sure. Okay, depends if I'm hiring for a fresher data scientist or a more experienced data scientist. For a more experienced data scientist, I would like to see some sort of actual real world modeling experience. The experienced guy has shipped some models into production. His models are running, solving actual business problems.
Okay.
That will be the most important thing. After that, what is his experience with various different algorithms, depending on his years of experience? Does he understand deep learning? Does he understand boosted trees or not? Stuff like that. For a fresher data scientist, it would be around, it could be around personal projects. You can showcase your learning ability, your efforts via personal projects. That could be a big section in your resume. That would definitely stand out. You can show that you have taken a problem and solved it from scratch. You can implement machine learning in real life.
Right. And what do you think? How effective is the communication skill for a data scientist? Uh,
Yeah, sure. It's super important right now
right.
because as a data scientist, you'll have to interact with various people. You'll need to understand their problems. You need to get help from various teams. So it's
Right.
definitely super important and something that is overlooked, but it is something that will set you apart from other data scientists. So, and communication skills matter more and more as you move up in your career. So definitely very important.
Right. So we'll just taking two more questions. So what are other important skills required to be a good data scientist apart from coding? So I think yeah.
Apart from just coding, you need to have a good analytical mindset. Try and you definitely need to understand how can you solve this problem using analytics, and then you try and formulate it into a machine learning problem. So be very analytical about a problem, be very perceptive about it. Then you need to learn how to hustle, I would say. uh, Gather a lot of data that requires hustling, so stuff like that is important other than just coding.
Right. So there's yeah the last question which we'll be taking because we're sort of running out of time. So Isha asked this question: what are your predictions as a data scientist for the next 5 to 10 years? What is something that a data scientist needs the most? So she wants to know what the future lies for a from a data science career perspective, I guess. So
Right. So the way I see it is data science is something which has large scale implication on all sorts of companies. It is not just limited to technology companies. It can have impact on financial services companies, traditional banks, on FMCG companies, on medical companies. So more and more manufacturing companies. So all of these companies right now are trying to leverage the huge amounts of data that they generate, and
right,
how do they get the best value out of that data. So in next 5 to 10 years, I see all of these companies hiring more data science people more and more.
right,
So keep learning, keep getting better at your skills, and
right.
keep hustling. So you'll definitely have a lot of options.
Yeah, and this is actually a very interesting field for exploration and learning. And in fact, because this field is kind of getting consolidated day by day, a lot of new things are coming every day. So it kind of keeps everyone on their toes to just I mean, once they have cleared their fundamentals, now they can just go ahead and learn new concepts. So because in the means if you talk about 2015 or 16, LSTMs were doing really great when it came to having a very good language model. But when with attention networks, for example, when transformers came, that kind of totally replaced that, and that just happened in a quick go.
Right.
So it's kind of just getting updated means almost means very quickly, and in fact, the community has become really large, right? The machine learning research community has kind of become really large, and that's why it's a very interesting field. A lot of people are kind of not only solving the business problem, the engineering problem, but also there are very good, huge applications in the basic sciences. So a lot of applications in biology, and then in physics, astronomy, even in chemistry. So that's pretty interesting, and yeah. So it was great having you, Ayush, and we thank you and appreciate you taking out your time for our students in having this Ask Me Anything session. So hopefully, a lot of people, a lot of students of ours, they're inspired from your experience and your guidance. So thank you for joining today's
Thanks,
session.
Vikas, for having me, and all the best to all the students here. Just keep learning more and more, try and get better at projects, build up your resume, and you'll definitely have a great, fruitful career. All the best to everyone.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Ayush, for joining in. Okay, have a
Thanks,
great
Vikas.
day. All right. Okay, bye. So yeah, so we'll just yeah wait for 2 minutes, and then we'll continue with the interview point of view session, and then later on we'll have the case study session.